Imagine thinking you can beat the Avs. Monday, no less. It doesn't feel like a Monday. The last handful of days, the Avs have kept us crazy busy. So,
what are days of the week anymore?
I don't
honestly.
know.
That's kind of how this season has felt.
It does feel that way a little bit. Bailey, you've been traveling with the team. You've been covering all the people. So I figured, why not get into some of the new guys? Why not figure out what the Avs are going to do with their lineup, which you might think is an easy conversation, but then you have injuries and you have lineup swaps and you have all sorts of things going on. I mean, let's start with the biggest name, though. Kadri, back in the fold in Colorado, immediately slots in first line, first game. He comes up with an assist. At what point do you say, screw it, just leave him on the first line?
I don't think we're very far off from that. If you're a junkie like me and you look at all the, beforehand, materials that teams give out and everything, he was originally slotted for that second line. He was originally slotted to play next to Brock Nelson. And because the Avs love fan reactions and Nazem Kadri loves the noise, quote unquote, he started next to Nathan McKinnon and Bednar went as far as to say he really liked him there. That first shift looked fantastic, and why not keep it that way? So I really, we joke about that, but I really don't think that's a far-fetched idea to leave him there, at least until Gabe comes back. And even then, Gabe might have some hefty competition if Kadri and McKinnon continue to play the way that they are together.
It is interesting, right? Because the big thing with Kadri is flexibility. Yeah, he can play up on that first line. He could probably play on your second line next to a Nelson and a Nichushkin or whoever. And then he can also play center for you. So I don't know, at a certain point you want to give a player some consistency, right? So you do kind of need to make a decision, but I do think you can live in a world where Kadri slots up into your top six anytime you need him to.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of that flexibility of having five centers at your disposal. And I think if Jared Bednar could see it, obviously you can't see into the future, but I don't think Bednar from a couple months ago would have been believed that they would be in this position at this point, having five forwards that they can deploy comfortably. You get him to the point in postgame where he's saying it really depends on the opponent we're facing to see, how we deploy those four centers. If Kadri's going to play on that third line, or if we keep him at wing, and having to deal with some of those nuances of demanding a little bit more out of those players. Even Kadri was kind of talking about, I feel like as a center, it's easier to switch from playing center to wing than it is for a wing to switch and play center, which makes that a little easier. And so there's a whole lot of hoops to jump through there. But I think Bednar from a few months ago would be astounded to know that his wish list was fulfilled this thoroughly.
It's a very different world when you're choosing between a Parker Kelly and a Zakhar Bardakov as your 4C, as opposed to I'm choosing between Jack Drury and Nick Waugh as my 4C.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Crazy concept. I think, we talk a lot about the centers now, and obviously that's the big conversation point right now, right? We've got Kadri, we've got Waugh, looking at how that's going to line up. But looking at guys like Parker Kelly and Zakhar Bardakov, Parker Kelly, who has been very vocal about, I can play center, but I'm a lot
really
more
a center.
right. Like I'm a lot more effective on the wing.
Yep.
And so think about like a lot of that comfortability and how much more you get and can demand out of players like that too. I think is a big point that a lot of people skip over when trying to have this conversation. Like, oh yeah, Jack Drury at 4C. Like, no, Parker Kelly on the fourth line wing. Like that's full time. That seems pretty awesome to me.
Well, and I want to get into that next because yes, Kadri's playing wing right now. But if the Avs are fully healthy, how do you balance that? Are you moving Kadri to 3C? Where does Nick Waugh fall in this lineup? Because if you have Landeskog and Lehkonen back, let alone LOC, who we'll talk about in a minute, the Avs have 7 top 6 guys. It becomes a conversation of where does things fit best, and I'm just curious where you see Kadri and Waugh in the imaginary world where everyone's healthy.
I think I kind of sit in the same boat that Bednar does in that Kadri really thrives next to that top end talent. And of course, anybody would. Yeah. Right? Like when you're playing
fit better
next
than
to
others though.
Right, but some people have that fit. There was a stat that came out during the game yesterday saying that both Nazem Kadri and Nathan MacKinnon have collectively combined or like helped each other with 24 goals.
That's pretty good.
In the 3 years, now maybe 4 that they have, 4 seasons that they have played together. There's something to be said about that chemistry, something to be said about the way certain players connect. And Bednar, as of right now, seems very comfortable in saying, like, he wants Nazem Kadri to play with our top guys.
Yep.
Like that is how he feels. And why wouldn't you when you know that's the product that you're getting out of him paired with a Nathan MacKinnon, or imagine what he could do next to a Brock Nelson when Landeskog comes back and how that works. What's also really interesting about this conversation to me too is like Nick Waugh on the wing, not like we've seen a little bit of it since he's been in Colorado or with Colorado, and it hasn't been bad. Like
not at all.
It's the skating could definitely improve, but he's risen to the task, I think, and what's been demanded of him here in Colorado, which I think has been really the most impressive thing to me. So as it stands, when you get to a fully healthy lineup, I don't see why you wouldn't try your best to keep a Nazem Kadri up in the top 6 with the way that works. And that's if, the trajectory continues to move upward with that.
Obviously, you have to be flexible, but if you're keeping Kadri in your top 6, then you're talking about a potential third line of something like a Lehkonen, Waugh, Colton. And that's hard for teams to play. I mean, no matter how you shape it, the Avs third line is going to be a problem for teams.
We're talking about Artturi Lehkonen, who in conversations at the beginning of the season was maybe quote unquote the worst
of their top 6.
Top 6. So seeing that move down to the third line, and that's not a slouch against Artturi Lehkonen and what he can provide with the Avs best players. But moving him down to that third line, you maybe start asking questions. Okay, what does that do to maybe elevate a Ross Colton?
Yep.
How do you get more out of that third line center if you're playing around with Waugh and maybe you give Kadri a chance there? Like you're elevating that third line tremendously by moving Lehkonen down. For sure. But that seems like the easiest answer.
Yeah, I think that would be the most straightforward way if you do want Kadri on the wing. And I think the reality of this conversation is you probably end up in one of those situations where you're sort of double shifting Kadri as a third line center, but also sometimes as a top 6 wing. So there's going to be some give and take there. We all know the Bednar blender is never turned off. So.
Never, ever.
So expect some shakeups. And, guys like Lecky and Landy are still weeks out. So we're not expecting them to be back in the immediate, but someone who might is Logan O'Connor, now practicing properly with the team.
That was the next step.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
With Bednar's kind of unannounced game plan for Logan O'Connor. Like you get him skating with the team and that's automatically like okay, you can make the inference that he's close.
Yeah. He wouldn't be look, clearly the way they've treated this injury, it's not like they're going to rush it. Kim comes back to practice on his own when he's ready. He's coming back to actual practice with the team when he's ready. And, I don't want to knock anyone in the Avs lineup. I think Sakar Bardakov has done as good a job as you could reasonably expect in the situation that he's in. But you are in the portion of the season, and I saw Toyota Chat talking about it earlier. You just added a couple of new guys. You have this 20-game stretch where you need to experiment with your lineup, and you need to figure out what works and what doesn't. And having LOC be a part of that is important because you have a guy like Lehkonen, a pretty consistent guy. You know what you're getting out of him most nights. Mostly the same with Landeskog, I would say. He's a veteran. You know the experiences there. LOC is consistent, but with so much shakeup in your bottom six, it feels like trying guys out there. What does he look like next to Nick Waugh? How can you fit him in? Can he move up your lineup to a third line? Or with what the Avs have, is he more of a fourth line guy next to Jack Drury? I do think it's important for the Avs to get as many games as they can out of that bottom six and try LOC with everybody.
Which makes you feel a lot more comfortable with the sort of gap that they've created for themselves, I think.
For sure.
Especially as you start to near the end of the season, you have that flexibility. What becomes a more interesting conversation for me too, though, is you've got LOC coming back into the fold. You've got Arturi Lehkonen. You've got Gabe Landeskog coming back in too. Zakar Bardakov and Yoel Kiviranta are probably the two odd men out. But who becomes that third?
You're not going to like my answer.
I think I'm very aware. Yeah. No, it has to be Brindley.
It has to be. This is, again, I'm not knocking Bardakov. I'm not knocking Kivy. I'm certainly not knocking Gavin Brindley. It's just the reality of the way the Avs forward lineup has leveled up. Most players in the Avs lineup would be third liners or better on other teams. And a guy like... Certainly, Bardakov, who's young, still developing. The Avs just aren't in the spot where they can really afford to give that guy those minutes, assuming health. Kiviranta, an interesting spot, maybe a more trusted veteran, but the offense just has not been enough this year. I know he picked up an assist the other night, but he's not a guy who earned that roster spot. And Gavin Brindley is like right on the border. He needs just a touch more production, I think, to make that top 12. And look, it's hockey. Someone's going to get hurt. Gavin Brindley will get back in the lineup. Don't worry about that side of it.
Right.
But yeah, it's far more a nod to the Avs of just how good they are that Gavin Brindley is on his way to being a healthy scratch if they're fully healthy. That's
as soon as I saw the news of him being like the transactional kind of situation of him being sent down to the Eagles by trade deadline. That was kind of the writing on the wall. Yeah, I think for me. And again, as you mentioned, not a knock against Gavin Brindley. What he's done this season, nobody thought he was making an NHL roster at the beginning of this season. And then like you've heard us multiple times talk about this on the show, like. Coming into training camp, blowing everybody's minds. He's done phenomenal things this season. I also don't like. There are some people who could have looked at this roster at the beginning of the season saying like, you can go win a cup with this roster as is, but they went all in.
They did
at the 100%. Trade deadline. Like they did as well as anybody could have expected with the addition of Nazem Kadri.
I'm usually my thoughts about the playoffs, even if you're a favorite, it's, hey, make the conference finals and see what happens. If you're a top 4 team in the NHL, you're really, really good. The moves the Avs made at this deadline, they have to win a cup. That anything less than a Stanley Cup is now a disappointment this year for the Colorado Avalanche. So that's the reality. Yeah,
full stop. And that's why I loved Bednar's answer after the game, because looking at this roster, it's the same sort of feel as last year's roster where like this is one of the more deep teams that you've had. You look back at the 22 Cup run and like that was a very deep team. Like you're looking again at Yoel Kiviranta, Gavin Brindley, and Zakar Bardakov being your 13, 14, and 15. Yep. And with the way Gavin Brindley and Kiviranta especially have performed this season, like that's pretty good forward depth to lean back on. And that's not discounting, the guys that you still have in your lineup who are damn good hockey players. They didn't go win a cup. Yeah. And you get the comparisons to the 2022 Cup year, but this depth is really, really hard to argue with as far as, teams that are capable of going that far.
They're the deepest forward team in the NHL. I think there's little doubt in my mind about that. I do want to talk about their extra defensemen too, but we need to take our first break of the show here. So let's shout out a few of our sponsors. Hey athletes, weekend warriors, and anyone who loves to move. For those experiencing any sports injury or chronic pain, the Common Spirit Mountain region is home to an incredible sports medicine program, including their new sports center, Common Spirit Health in Parker. The team of qualified and passionate providers specializes in the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of sports-related injuries for all athletes, including your Denver Broncos players. Their experts understand the unique demands your body faces, so you'll get personalized treatment plans combining things like physical therapy, injury prevention strategies, and strength training. This isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about preventative care, performance enhancement, and getting you back to peak condition safely and quickly. Don't let an injury keep you on the bench, or even better, get proactive about your health. For more information, you can visit commonspirit.org. That's mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health is an official healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos. Make sure you're keeping up with your health with over 240 clinics here in Colorado with Common Spirit Health. Once you're taking care of your health, treat yourself to a little bit of steak at STK Steakhouse. You can go get happy hour at $3, $6, and $9 levels, Sunday through Thursday, 2:30 to 6:30, and 9 p.m. to close, and then Friday and Saturday, 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. They're open late on game days, so even when the Avs play, you can still hit up STK after the game, and their steak nights include a 3-course meal plus a glass of wine for just $69 per person. They have seasonal menus with rotating different items to keep things fresh. They're even open on holidays if you want to go get a holiday meal. It's a great place to go check out. It's dinner with a vibe. Denver has a DJ every single night, and they even have private dining spaces for corporate events or social celebrations. So make sure you're checking out STK. You can make a reservation today or learn more at stksteakhouse.com. Go get a delicious steak. Enjoy your time in Denver, and just have a good old time for good money and good steak. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. We talked about the forwards. The Avs also acquired Nick Blankenburg at the trade deadline. He hasn't gotten in a game yet. We've seen the Avs defense, let's call it, have some up and down moments across all three pairings, frankly.
Yes.
How do you get Nick Blankenburg in the lineup? Do you sit someone? I've had multiple people reach out to me on Twitter or otherwise, hey, should the Avs run 7D?
No.
I would agree, to be honest.
that forward core is just too speedy to leave somebody out of the lineup. They're too effective to leave anybody out of the lineup for the sake of getting Nick Blankenburg a game. Yeah. If that's the way you're going to do it. Even history kind of proves, and Bednar's mentioned this before, he really doesn't like that lineup configuration.
Never has.
It's not something that really works with the Avs system and the way they play. I really hate this answer because as a player and what I think he could provide, I really like Nick Blankenburg.
Yeah, me too.
He's got a lot of grind. He's got a lot of grit. He's got a lot of that kind of peskiness that's really difficult to play against that I think would improve the lineup, but it's going to take injury.
You're probably right.
Unfortunately, what I think it's going to come down to. And I'm at the point where the only guy that I would maybe make that sacrifice for is a Brent Burns, but even then,
look, I'm absolutely on team get Brent Burns rest, but the NHL doesn't sit players on Ironman streaks. They just don't do that.
No, but that's the unfortunate answer. That's at least the only, if you take all of those factors out of it, that's the answer. It's going to come down to injury, which as far as the forward core goes, I mean, you've had Samuel Girard miss time, but he's not here anymore. You've had Devon Taves miss a little bit of time, and I don't think they're at a point where unless his arm is falling off, he's going to miss any more time. Nick Blankenburg's just kind of in that weird rut spot of, kind of warming the bench until you need him not to.
It is a bit interesting, right? And obviously, hopefully the Avs have no injuries and everything's fine. But if someone like a Malinsky goes down for a couple games, that's a really easy put Nick Blankenberg in that spot.
Absolutely.
If someone like Brett Kulak goes down, the fit becomes a little bit more weird at that point, right?
Oh, yeah. No. And that's just given that stylistically they are two very different players, and with the way that the Avs, I think, are going to start relying on the type of style that Kulak brings, putting in a Blankenberg doesn't really fill that void anymore.
Yeah,
And
not in the same way, for
no,
sure.
not in the same way at all. And that's what becomes the most, I think, concerning part for me. But I do think if that were to happen, if a Kulak goes down and Blankberg needs to get put in, it's sustainable. It's sufficient. It can get the job
be
done.
fine.
And I think like that's why you go out and get a guy like Nick Blankenberg. So you have that because no matter who goes down, like of course if it's a Cale Makar or a Devon Taves, that hurts a little bit more. But if a Josh Manson or a Sam Malinsky or even a Kulak is going down, like Nick Blankenberg can step in and he's up for the task.
This is another one of those situations where it's like, hey, Avs, help yourself a little bit by clinching early, and you can rest some guys and play Nick Blankenberg a little bit.
No, make sure he's not coming in rusty. Yep. Absolutely. And what I do love about this too is that doesn't seem to affect Nick Blankenberg a whole lot from what we've talked about him within the locker room. Like he is just really happy to be part of a winning team. Like even that, if he is playing that seventh D,
been some tough years in Nashville.
Yeah. He seemed really, I mean, he called it an answered prayer.
Yeah.
Not only play in the NHL, but to play on a team like this and be part of a team like this. Like he was super eager when getting into Colorado. Him and Nick Waugh are staying in the same hotel. They rode together. Like they're both very excited to get going and play with the puck a little bit. And that's what even if he's not getting the minutes that maybe you'd like to see him get, like that's exactly the kind of mindset that this team needs out of your seventh D, is somebody who's always ready, always up for the task. And again, him stylistically, no matter who he comes in to play for or who's coming out of the lineup, it might not be the best fit, but he's up to the task. He can play sufficient hockey to keep the Avs above water.
Comfortable. You're comfortable with a guy of that caliber coming into your lineup. Obviously, you don't want to get hurt, but if you have to deal with things, he'll be ready. For the Toyota chat, I do believe NHL teams are not allowed to start selling their playoff tickets until they clinch. Mathematically, which obviously the Avs are going to, but there technically could not.
There's not an X next to their name yet. Right. So
when does that happen again?
When they clinch?
Yeah, when do they officially?
I mean, once mathematically the 9th team in the West can't catch them anymore.
Got it.
Which it should be coming up relatively soon here. I'd have to actually look at the numbers to know when they will clinch, but the Avs are certainly going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Very likely going to win the President's Trophy, depending on how things shake out across the last portion of the season. Yeah, we'll get to those later. We'll get to those later. No. 6 wins, apparently, Chad is telling us, which could very quickly turn into less as other teams lose as well. Before we do get into some of those trophy conversations, I did want to also talk about the Avs are at the top of the NHL. They've been getting everyone's best shot all year. They just beat Minnesota and Dallas, but we haven't really had time to dive into who are the Avs' biggest competition post-NHL trade deadline. And the answer is Minnesota or Dallas, but I am curious, which one do you think is scarier at this moment?
It's got to be Dallas.
Okay.
For me, I think. And that is no slouch to the team that the Minnesota Wild are too. I think when you have them firing on all cylinders, maybe they weren't last night, but when you have them at their best, like they are a terrifying team. There's still something to be said about a guy like Quinn Hughes was invisible and they still pulled the Avs into a shootout.
Yeah.
So like that's still terrifying. But for me, when it comes down to the physicality and the environment in which they play each other and what they bring out of each other, it's an easy answer of Dallas for me.
I do think it is Dallas too. Just because you look at the top end, not that Quinn Hughes isn't amazing for them, but Dallas has someone like Miro Heiskanen who's a top 10 defenseman at any given time. At times a top 3 defenseman. They have Mikko Rantanen to go shot for shot with someone like Kirill Kaprizov. And then they have someone like a Jason Robertson. Hopefully Rupe Hintz is back for the playoffs.
Looks like he should be based on reports coming out of Dallas. But
Minnesota just lacks a little bit of that high-end forward talent in a way that Dallas has. And not that Minnesota is bad. Matt Boldy's awesome. Matt Zuccarello's still doing it into his old age. But Dallas just has a little bit more talent on that front. I will say, based on these last 2 games, a lot more afraid of Jesper Wallstedt than I am Jake Ottinger right now.
I was looking at some of there was a tweet that came up on my timeline talking about, when Jesper Wallstedt's playing average teams, he is an average goaltender. Yeah. But when he's playing the top end,
he
talent,
elevates.
Again, there's something to be said too, right? About the best team effect. And you're playing a top team, so obviously you're going to get the best out of your opponent, right? Jesper Wallstedt is the poster child for this.
Certainly steps up against the Avs at the very least.
No, I wish I had the stat in front of me, but it was like 7-3-1 or something like that when he's playing opponents who are currently in a playoff spot, which I'm like, that's
pretty good. Yeah,
that's pretty good. So yeah, he's going to be their key too, and nothing against Philip Gustafson too, who technically, based on starts, I believe is their starter. So doesn't matter who you're getting in net. Like that's equally terrifying opponents to have to face and get a puck past.
Yeah, and look, Stars have absolutely had the Avs number in the playoffs. That the Avs don't get the benefit of the doubt there until they beat them. But assuming the Avs take care of business, it's going to be Stars versus Minnesota in round 1. And Stars getting through Minnesota is no guarantee.
Yep.
So you have to have that conversation of these 2 teams in the West against the Avs. I see Toyota Chat also mentioning Edmonton. Edmonton does not scare me. Frankly, the entire Pacific does not scare me that much. I do not think it's a very good division. You look at what Edmonton did at the trade deadline. Would you rather have Jason Dickinson or Nazem Kadri?
Right. No, the only team that maybe gives me a little sort of pause is the Anaheim Ducks. And even then, it's like, ooh, spooky, scary.
Sure. The conversation with the Ducks is one of those where, like, I don't think on paper, if I'm the Avs, I'm very scared of Anaheim. But Anaheim is that team where it's like they're too young and stupid to know better, that if they get into the playoffs and they end up facing the Avs, which Anaheim could win the Pacific still, very possible. But if they end up facing in the conference finals or something, Anaheim may well be the team that doesn't know any better to get nervous and just goes out there and plays free and can be a hard out because of that.
Yeah.
The other side of this is the East, which, we don't have to go too in depth on the East side of it. Again, if the Avs are playing a team from the East in the playoffs, they've done pretty well. But Tampa somehow continues to be a perennial contender.
The Buffalo Sabres,
now
man.
At the top of their division after last night.
Oh my God. Talk about a team kind of going all in too, or at least trying to at the trade deadline.
For sure.
There were 2, I think, trades that they were trying to get to go through and just didn't happen due to players not wanting to waive or, maybe deals being a little too expensive. But the Sabres are going for it this year. Like they said, okay, playoff spot, that's not good enough kind of situation, or at least that's what it's looking like from the outside in.
This is the effect of firing Kevin Adams, I guess.
Yeah. Despite all of that, like as fun as it is storyline wise for the Sabres to be getting in it, it's Tampa or Carolina for me.
The Sabres look, gonna make the playoffs very likely. Good for them. They get to kill the longest drought in high-end professional sports.
I was going to say sports history.
Yeah, so awesome. But are they real contenders? Prove it to me.
Right. Yeah, that's a bit of a harder sell.
Yeah.
Tampa, I mean, they've got the firepower.
You always have to respect them.
You always have to respect Tampa. They've got the veteran presence. They've got the playoff experience. Carolina does too. Their biggest thing is they've got to stay healthy. Stay healthy and figure out the conference finals. At least they don't have Florida. Like that beast may be
baby
out
steps.
of there. Yeah.
We went from 0-12 to 2-16 in conference finals now. All right.
So yeah, that beast again with the Florida Panthers being out of contention currently, and it's a matter of 10 points for that wild card, still achievable.
Yeah,
in the 20 games that are left, but
hard but doable.
If the Florida Panthers are out of that immediately, that's one less demon the Hurricanes have to go through to get to a Stanley Cup final. But yeah, no, they're terrifying in their own right. You talk about depth and being able to produce from anywhere, and then Tampa, like I said, talk about a physically sound monster as far as physicality and experience goes.
All right, we do need to take our second break of the show, so let's make sure we shout out a few more of our sponsors here. Denver's best roofers are on DNVR's team. Go with the pros at Red Hawk Roofing and get your roof checked once a year. It's preventative medicine for the home you pour your life into. Make sure you're covered with the projects at Red Hawk Roofing. There's no project too small. They're your go-to for everything from minor repairs to full roof replacement on your home or business. I've had to replace my roof recently, and they are really good at it. We get a bunch of hail damage. I live out east, so it is something you do have to check on. Red Hawk Roofing will do that for you. Long-lasting relationships matter with their customers. They use quality materials. They have decades of experience and a quick response time. They're Colorado's best estimators and contractors. Plus, they're just huge supporters of us here at DNVR. Their roof and property inspections are free with no obligation, so why not do it? And they even give you a free in-depth photo report for all of their inspections. You can't always see how bad the damage is on your roof from the ground, so they actually get up there and check it out. Supporting your local teams means also supporting local businesses like Red Hawk Roofing. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921 and tell them DNVR sent you. That's 720-771-8921 with Red Hawk Roofing. Once you're taking care of your roofing, you're going to want to get out of your house and maybe enjoy some exercise or some sports with Volo. Volo is Denver's most popular social sports provider for adults. They have pickup games, events, tournaments, and more. They offer tons of sports from soccer to pickleball, kickball to cornhole, and everything else in between. Playing with Volo is a great way to meet new people, make new friends, and be social. I was in a kickball league last year, and we still have some friends in our group chat that we didn't know beforehand that have become part of the group. It's a good way to stay active and have fun. And it can mix up your after-work routine. You can play pretty much anywhere in Denver, Lodo, Rhino, Highland, City Park, Cherry Creek, South Broadway, more than that. And even if you're not in Denver, any significant city pretty much has a Volo chapter that you can get in with. Players can sign up as a free agent, small group, or full team, and all ability levels are welcome. So go get in, use the code DNVR10 today to get $10 off any Volo Denver league and go enjoy some sports. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. We can get back to some of the Avs guys and opponents in a little bit. I have a question I want to ask because we were pretty confident that some awards might be going the Avs' way earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
I want to start with the Jack Adams.
All right.
Because I think you can still make a pretty good argument that Jared Bednar should probably win the Jack Adams this year. But you look at a team like Anaheim, you look at Coach Q hitting 1,000 wins in his career. Are we going to see Jared Bednar get snubbed on this award again?
Probably.
Great.
Probably.
Love that.
That's if Anaheim proves to be the, leading force out of the Pacific. It's no surprise that the Avs are as good as they are, but with Anaheim doing what they are and Coach Q making his return and all of the factors playing into what the Ducks are doing this season. I mean, I'm fully expecting Bednar to be a finalist, but finishing for the trophy is a little bit of a harder sell for me now.
Always the bridesmaid.
Always the bridesmaid's crazy.
That one, probably not very surprising if you follow the Avs for a few years. You're used to that one. The other conversation here, as far as non-hockey players, assuming the Avs don't get bounced early, because if they lose in the first round, obviously it's going to be doom and meltdown and all of that. Mm-hmm. Surely this is Chris McFarland's year to win GM of the year.
I think before the Kadri trade, the argument could have been made for another team.
I don't disagree, yeah.
But that Kadri trade kind of put things over the edge for me a little bit. You turn around your defense, get rid of a long tenured player, but a player who was not on the same level as he was a couple years ago, and that depth at center. I was talking with somebody the other day who was like, there are other teams who are begging for a third line or a second line center, right, let alone, third and fourth line guys to fill those spots. And the Avs have 5, 2 of which are arguably their second line centers, or could be on any other team. What Chris McFarland has managed to pull off, given some of the reports that were coming out around the trade deadline, some of the avenues in which they had to shift gears, maybe this is bias, but I don't know how that trophy isn't his, that he's not the front runner for it. If there are other conversations.
I mean, who made a bigger move at the deadline? Nobody, right?
No.
You have to. You want to go back to the Quinn Hughes trade for Minnesota, sure, but that's not at the deadline. That's in the middle of the season. I just don't see, especially if you're giving him credit for getting the Brock Nelson extension done and how great Brock has been for the Avs this year, and all of the other pieces that McFarland has made work so well. Even, look, I certainly have my frustrations with Brent Burns at times, but overall he's been a big net positive for the Avs.
Right.
Pretty much everything McFarland has done, even a guy who maybe you at times were frustrated with in a Victor Olofsson, he flipped him into Nazem Kadri now. So it's great work from CMAC.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. And this is coming, again, this was the guy who was catching a lot of flack at the beginning of last year.
Yep.
Bednar addressed some of that and saying we were getting flamed for some of the deals we made, or the deals that, were on our table that, CMAC was maybe not addressing, or by the time he had addressed this time last year, it was still like a hit or miss or whatever you want to call it. And yes, maybe there's some argument to be made about some of the assets that were given away in this, some of the trade capital or the draft capital there, which is a valid argument, valid point. But as far as the vision in mind for the Avs, we won a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
We are very adamant that this is a year that we are heavy contenders for the Stanley Cup. And that is exactly what this trade deadline showcased.
Yeah.
So if that's, what are you looking for that doesn't make Chris McFarland eligible for that? If that's, what he's doing to turn a team around. Bednar talked about wish lists earlier this season, and it was 3C and left-handed defensemen. They addressed everything.
Yep.
Everything on their wish list was taken care of within the last 2 years.
Again, if the Avs throw and lose in the first round, I think that's the only thing that could really keep CMAC from winning the GM
Which
of the year
even
award.
then too, there's something to be said about maybe CMAC's, catching some flack for that too. But there's a lot on Bednar's head.
For sure.
If that's the case.
If the Avs lose, frankly, with this lineup, if the Avs don't make the conference finals, both of them should be in the hot seat. I'm not saying fire them on the spot, but yeah, they should be sweating a little bit if the Avs don't go on a deep run.
Yep.
Moving into the players, and the one that has been the conversation for a significant portion of the year is the Norris.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is interesting. I think if Columbus makes the playoffs, it's probably Zach Werenski's to lose. But I struggle to put Evan Bouchard ahead of Cale Makar. I think the finalists at this point will be Bouchard, Werenski, and Makar.
Absolutely.
Bouchard's having a great offensive season. Makar is not having the best defensive season of his career, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as some people have made it out to be. How do you rank those three?
It's, for me, I probably go Werenski, Makar, Bouchard.
I'm comfortable with that.
It really depends. I think if the Wild make an interesting push and Quinn Hughes can become a little more noticeable, he could maybe. I also think it's the Quinn Hughes effect and the Cale Makar effect. It's really difficult to leave them out of those finalist spots, and then that third spot is whoever the hot up and coming defenseman is. So I think Quinn Hughes will always be part of that conversation. But fair. As of right now, it's Werenski and Cale Makar battling it out for that trophy at the end of the day.
Do we just hate Bouchard? Are we just Bouchard haters?
I'm just an Edmonton hater. Can that be my answer?
That's a fair answer. The Bouchard thing is interesting, and yeah, this most recent comment in the Toyota chat, Bouchard still hasn't solved some of his big issues in the defensive zone. Or rather, defensively as a whole, I should say. He often plays fast and loose at the offensive blue line, and that causes issues for Edmonton defensively. I do think Bouchard suffers a little bit from big guy who doesn't play super physical syndrome. You will watch dudes out muscle him and go, that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
If Bouchard ends up winning it, I wouldn't be that upset. Mostly because I don't actually care that much about individual awards in the NHL. But you end up in this interesting spot where the way NHL awards get voted on, very often if a team misses the playoffs, that player is going to suffer in the voting. And that's where it gets interesting with Werenski, because Columbus is far from guaranteed to make the playoffs in the East.
This is true.
And if they come up a little bit short, we could see Cale Makar steal a Norris back here potentially.
What sucks about the Norris Trophy too is it's turned into a points trophy. At the end of the day, that's really what it kind of comes down to. Just
the reality. Yeah.
As horrible as I think that is, and I think there's something to be said about needing to go back and redefine some of these trophies. It's never going to happen, or at least not in the near future. But if that's the case, like I still we could be dead off and saying like, yeah, Bouchard's the guy. If that's what you're voting on, like it's going to go to Bouchard, and Cale Makar is just SOL.
It is what it is. So be it.
Yeah. But as much as again, just for a feel good story, I would love to see Zach Werenski go for it. If that's the defining one of the defining factors of them making it into the playoffs, and he can be the highlight of that team in their run, whatever Cinderella run that may be. Like I'm all for it.
It's a fun storyline.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Sure. So, one award that the Avs will not win, but I do want to have an interesting conversation on, is the Selke. Should Brock Nelson get some credit here? I think, he's the only one that realistically would get votes, just because wingers never win the Selke, and it is what it is. But Nelson has been pretty darn good for the Avs when it comes to both ends of the ice. Is he best in the league there? I don't know.
I definitely wouldn't say best in the league. But I definitely think like in a maybe fair world, like he deserves some sort of conversation around it. We're always talking about the adults of the team and needing to kind of play that step up role and playing that two-way style. And as far as, defensively goes, Brock Nelson's, we know what he can produce in the offensive zone, but it's severely underrated what he provides on the other side of the puck as well.
Yeah.
Being one of the, better talked about guys as far as, overtime situations go and 5-on-5, like it really deserves a deeper conversation. I do want to point out, because I was curious at what ESPN and NHL writers have. Funny enough, the leader is Nick Suzuki.
Believable. He's awesome in Montreal on both sides.
The other finalists, Jordan Staal for the Carolina Hurricanes,
Okay.
and Nathan MacKinnon.
That's made up.
I had to kind of do a double take on this article as I was reading. So it was like Nathan MacKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche. Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah, no.
We're talking about the same guy here? Defensive forward.
That dude filled in the ballot for MVP and they accidentally filled it in on the Selke side.
I thought that was ridiculous. Like Nick Suzuki's okay. Like that's easy conversation there.
Yeah.
Nathan MacKinnon. Crazy.
Yeah, certainly Matthew Schaefer is winning the Calder. That one is locked up, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were some other conversations in the chat talking about remembering the Olympics. Are they actually going to remember the Olympics? Because, you know, the only guy to score in the gold medal game for Canada was Cale Makar. Just saying.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about, you know, players finally returning to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that being remembered. As far as trophies go,
Sure.
That's where I'm at.
They are NHL trophies, not international trophies, technically. And then well, actually, we need to get to our last break of the show first, and then we'll talk about the MVP. So let's hit up a few more of our sponsors. The official vehicle of DNVR is Toyota, and they're also the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. They've had trucks in their DNA for generations, so you know you get a good one there. But any vehicle, whether it be their SUVs like the 4Runner or just a simple sedan, they've got it all, and they have 17 different models with all or four-wheel drive available, so you can get on the roads and have confidence that you will be able to grip it, or you can go off-road and enjoy it. Whatever you want, Toyota offers more low and zero emission vehicles than any other automaker out there. That's 16 different hybrid vehicles, even hybrid trucks like the Tundra iForce Max. So get in with a Toyota at your local Front Range Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corinth Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, a Toyota official vehicle of DNVR and the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. From a truck to a sedan, they've got it all. Toyota, let's go places. Once you've taken your Toyota out, you're going to want to take it to Taco Bell. Taco Bell is at it again with the best innovation in the industry, and now they're combining their savory, slow-roasted chicken inside a cult classic format with their new limited-time only Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupas. Get your set of 2 street-sized cheddar chalupa shells filled with slow-roasted chicken, flavorful bacon, freshly prepared pico de gallo, shredded cheese, and avocado ranch sauce. Taco Bell isn't just limiting this Americana flavor combination to its street chalupa, though, but why not get this pairing on Taco Bell's iconic nacho fries? I even have some nacho fries literally right here, right now. You can go eat some. They're absolutely delicious. Again, the Chicken Bacon Ranch amazingness on top if that's what you want. And don't forget to add one of the new items from the Taco Bell Luxe Value Menu with 10 items for $3 or less. The Luxe Value Menu at Taco Bell delivers bold, irresistible flavor and crave-worthy items at unbelievable prices. Nobody delivers everyday value and supports your hometown teams like Taco Bell. Live Moss at Taco Bell. Final period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. The MVP. To be clear, I don't think Nathan MacKinnon cares that much about winning another MVP. He's far more focused on a Stanley Cup, maybe a Conn Smythe, maybe something like that. But he's certainly in the conversation for MVP this year. My question is, does he deserve it?
The conversation is entertainable.
I think he's probably, if it was voted on today, a finalist. I don't know if he wins it.
No, that's where I stand, is being a finalist for that trophy is, you know, an honor in and of itself. But I think what Connor McDavid has done and the consistency at which he's been producing points is probably gets him over that hump before Nathan MacKinnon.
I will say, if you're trying to really get into the nitty-gritty, MacKinnon has significantly more goals, and MacKinnon produces significantly more at 5-on-5.
Yes.
Now, depending on how you want to look at that, you could say Nathan MacKinnon sucks on the power play, and that's actually a knock against him.
Yeah.
But there is worth noting that McDavid, I think like 43 of his points come off the power play.
Well, if we're talking about goals, like points, of course, I'll give it to McDavid there. He's only got one more goal than Nathan MacKinnon on the power play.
Yeah, so more
like,
of a
if that's-
setup guy than a finisher there.
Yeah, plus minus Nathan McKinnon is leading by a hefty margin at 50 plus 56. Kucherov is actually the next guy up there at plus 33. McDavid's only
think
at 12, which
Kucherov would probably be my third finalist
Yeah.
if I were voting today.
which given how close the race has been for McDavid and McKinnon, Kucherov's a name I really haven't heard all that much
Yeah.
this season as far as this award goes. So-
Tampa kind of been a sneaky good team this year. They kind of kept quiet and then went on that, like, it was what, like 18 wins in 20 games or something, like absolutely outrageous.
So it was a bit of a surprise, and that kind of, I feel like, snuck up on me just a little bit, but not surprising given how consistently good he's been over the last couple of years. I think by the end of this stretch, it's really going to come down to, I mean, obviously the points are a huge factor, and if Connor McDavid's leading that stretch through the end of the regular season,
What are you going to do?
yeah, Nathan, what is Nathan McKinnon going to say? Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like he just genuinely does not care that much. That is personal hardware that is not as important as the team hardware they're looking to add to their cupboard at the end of the playoffs.
Yep.
I think it's interesting that he is leading the Rocket conversations. So if that's the one I'm
He
going to give it to.
really should win the Rocket at this point, unless someone goes crazy in this last stretch here.
Yeah. So that one's kind of a given for me. But as far as the heart goes, I'm all for giving it to Connor McDavid. He like the conversations between who is the better player of the two of them, I think are valid. But at the end of the day, like Connor McDavid is one of the best to do what he does at his position. So that's just another piece of hardware to prove that. Fine by me.
Maybe a similar conversation on the goaltending side if McKinnon wins the Rocket. The Avs goalies are not likely to win the Vezina, but together probably going to win the Jennings.
There's who knew?
Yeah.
Honestly, like looking at the beginning of this season, goaltending was a little shaky. You've got Minor coming in as relief. Scott Wedgwood has done incredible things with his season so far.
The biggest knock against the Avs goaltending this year, I think, is battling the injuries more than anything else. Yeah, they've had some bad games. Like every goalie on the planet has had a bad game. But the Avs goaltending tandem has been the best tandem in the league.
No doubt about it. There are a couple, Wedgwood's come in the last 2 games and made some saves that worried me just a little bit. Like, Scott, you got a bad back. Let's tone it down a little bit here, buddy.
Better be doing your yoga before games.
Right,
if you're gonna do
the
that
Pilates
stuff.
that he and Blackwood start getting into. No, that's if they go and win the Jennings, I will absolutely not be surprised. And there's something to be said about that trophy really saying more about the team in front of them than the actual goaltending. But anybody who's watching the Avs this season can say it can absolutely be both with some of the games that Wedgwood has come out and stolen for this team. I look at the last 2 games alone.
Yep.
You're looking at especially a Dallas game where Blackwood goes and falls apart, and who is ultimately the hero of that game?
I mean, I think it's Hardy Natchez, but Scott Wedgwood also.
Scott Wedgwood can also be in that conversation. Like
Comes
that's
in and doesn't let a single goal go in.
And again, some of those shootout saves that he's making
that
too. Like
first
that's
one on I
God.
forget who, Robertson. Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing was outrageous.
yeah. So and that's where maybe I am a little biased toward goaltending, but like he's ultimately the hero of that game for me too. Because like that, if you leave Mackenzie Blackwood to sit there and rot in net, like
that game's
that
over
game
if you
looks
leave Blackwood
a
in. Yeah,
lot different. So it's what they've been able to create this season collectively. And that's not saying that Mackenzie Blackwood is a bad goaltender. Every goaltender is allowed to have their bad game every once in a while. And they've shown that they know how to limit those bad games. And when you can come out and when the pressure's on, they use it to their advantage.
This is circling back why a team like Edmonton doesn't scare me that much. Yeah, look, Connor McDavid's awesome. If you're playing Edmonton, there's always a chance he has 30 points in a 7-game series, and you go, damn, he's really good.
Yeah.
But Would you rather have Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood or Tristan Jarry in net? Like, it's not even a conversation.
See, that's a nightmare waiting to happen.
Edmonton changed goalies and did not solve their goalie problem by any stretch of the imagination this year. So
wasn't there talk that they were looking to flip him again at the deadline too? So like that just goes to show where that conversation's at.
Yeah.
No, what I do think is interesting though too, if we're like talking about, the impact on awards, I do think it is very, very interesting that Mackenzie Blackwood has been named as the starter and all of Wedgwood's, starts have been scheduled. I highly doubt Bednar planned on playing him last night.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know that Bednar has ever been the type to actually schedule all of his goalie starts.
Yeah.
I think he's very much a guy that goes to him and is like vibes out who's ready to go on any given night. But yeah, in some ways that's a privilege that the Avs have, right? You can say, oh, we've scheduled out all these starts, but on a dime, you can turn that around because you trust both of your goalies.
You were comfortable with both of them. And that's why, phasing back into the trophy talk, like that Jennings is a lock. And if you want to have the further conversation of either of these goaltenders being, contenders for the Vezina, I think there are not many people in this league I think you could talk to say absolutely not, like hard no.
Sure.
Like that's what makes this goaltending situation in the league as a whole very, very interesting, just because they have gone out and earned a lot of that this season.
Yeah. Look, yes, the caveat of they have to do in the playoffs is absolutely true, but there is a reason the Avs are viewed as the top team in the NHL beyond just them leading the league in points and all of that. At every position, the Avs are well stocked and scary. No one is going to feel good about the matchup coming in against the Colorado Avalanche, and you have to take advantage of that. But there's a reason you get to feel good about where Colorado is at.
Yep. No, they've earned that, and they've got 20 games to continue to prove that not only are they the best team in the league, but they've got the depth to back that up too. I'm really interested to see especially how the last 10 games go for this team.
I mean, the last 10 games could be very interesting, or it could be we've locked it up and we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It could go either
This
way.
is true.
But if you want to watch this juggernaut in person with us here at DNVR, we've got a takeover at the end of March 28th. Come join us. Come watch an Avs game at Ball Arena, thednvr.com/events, or you can use that QR code on screen right there to come join us. It's a super fun time every time we do a takeover. We get a party bus from the bar to and from the arena. You get free beers. It's a great time all the way around. So
sold.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
It's just that easy. Bailey gets to come hang out while working at Ball Arena with the gang.
I cannot enjoy the free beers, but you guys can enjoy them for me.
Yeah.
So
I can. I'll be there drinking the beers. So if you want to come look at my ugly mug, you can do that. Look, people were asking about chat. The hair's going to go. The beard's going to go at some point, probably in the next month or so. No, not. I mean, I'll shave at the start of playoffs.
You're not a playoff beard guy?
No, I always shave at the start of playoffs and grow it out. But, I do it for fun. I don't actually believe in it. So, Burns' beard is definitely better, for the record.
That thing's not going anywhere for playoffs.
Yeah.
Almost guaranteed.
Look, I think it's important to remember to enjoy the goodness of the Avalanche season 2. Obviously, the playoffs will be what they'll be, but you can't win the playoffs until you get to the playoffs. So, worth remembering that the Avs are, in fact, the best team in the league right now and deserve to be. This is not a team that has fluked its way to where it is. It is this good.
No, and it really only gets more exciting from here too. Yep. You're finished with your series against Minnesota, but you've got
one more against Dallas.
You've got in the next, I believe, 11 days too. So like that alone, it's not an easy matchup per se, or an easy schedule at all. And that's one of the things I love that Bednar touched on in post game yesterday too. Is like if you're looking for easy wins, you're in the wrong league.
Not going to find him. Yeah.
You're not going to find him here. And so it's fun hockey really down the stretch. As stressful as it might be, you've maybe got one more 2-day break coming up.
At the start
here.
of April, I think, is their only left 2-day break.
And then it's a game every other day. So you really are, it's a grind, but it's a fun one too. You've got some really fun matchup against some dangerous opponents coming up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's a test, I think, for the Avalanche and really what their depth can do.
Yep, it'll be a fun run. We'll see exactly how it all plays out, but the Avs have positioned themselves in a really good spot. So hopefully they can finish it up. We are going to wrap up today's show. We do appreciate everyone being here. Another game day tomorrow, pregame, watch along, postgame. Y'all know the drill. Come join us for that. And we're live 5 days a week. So if you like us, consider liking, subscribing, doing all that stuff. Become a diehard so you can read all of Bailey's post games, which are amazing. Go do that. And that's it. We are the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, and we are out of here from the Xfinity studio until tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.